The Flash is directed by Andy Muschietti and it stars Ezra Miller, Sasha Calle, Michael Shannon and Michael Keaton. And in this long-awaited DCEU film, Barry Allen travels back in time to try and save his mother from being murdered, but in doing so he completely breaks the universe. Now I don't think anyone's going to be surprised when I say this movie has been riddled with controversy and delays. All because of Ezra Miller. He did a couple of bad things, It's not like he did anything major. He groomed a couple of children, he strangled a pregnant woman. Nothing too major. No, seriously, he's a right. I hate him. So my excitement for this film was really tainted because of these actions by Miller. And I was actually thinking of boycotting it. But I saw the great reviews it was getting and I thought, you know what, go on then. I'll go and watch it. And after seeing this film, I don't understand why people are calling this one of the best superhero movies ever made. It's one of the best superhero movies in the DCEU, but judging by their track record, that's not really an achievement. This movie is not bad though. This movie is not bad. It's not great either. It's just borderline in the middle near enough. It's a solid little movie. It doesn't do anything unique or anything. It does have some flaws, but it does have some really strong positives as well. Many people have been clamouring for a Flashpoint movie for ages. And we finally got it. And they do a decent job of it. I think the first two acts were pretty good. They do have some great ideas. Barry Allen is a character you easily connect with. You don't necessarily agree with his actions, but you understand why he does them. He wants to go back in time to stop his mother from getting killed, and to stop his dad from being framed for it and going to jail. That's a pretty good motivation, and it's something you can root behind. And the movie does have some really good ideas. I really like the concept of Barry Allen training up a younger version of himself. I think that's cool. And I thought they were going to pass the mantle on a little bit, but and the movie was leading up to that, but we'll get to that later, shall we? I also like the idea of the Flash not having his powers in this weird and dangerous new world. I think that's a great idea, and they incorporate that into the movie fairly well for the most part. And the two Barry Allens also have some really good chemistry. And I don't want to say this, but I will admit Ezra Miller does actually do a pretty good job. I have to admit it. Playing two versions of yourself is really hard. And he knocked it out of the park for the most part. But I really did like the way they portrayed the younger Barry Allen. He felt like the Barry Allen from the Justice League movie, just less annoying and actually pretty funny. So I'll give the writers that. They managed to tone down his stupidity a lot. And this movie is also a great love letter to past DC movies. We all know by now that Michael Keaton's Batman is in this movie. And it is a pleasure to see him back on the big screen. He is just phenomenal as his character. His suit looks great, even though he still can't turn his head. It's still ridiculous, but he did an amazing job as always as his character. But one massive praise I have to give this movie is the way they portrayed Supergirl. She's not the overly charismatic woman that she is in the show, which is just frigging trash. People don't really know that. Supergirl is a pretty dark character. And they made her very dark and mature in this movie. Her backstory is brutal. She was experimented on, she was tortured, leading her to hate humans. And it introduces a pretty good arc for her to learn that not all humans are bad, and she accepts that most of humanity is good and she must protect them. But again, we'll get into that arc in a minute. But I just love the way they portrayed her. And Sasha Calle, I'm sorry if I said that name wrong, but she was terrific. I see a lot of people praising her performance, but they're not praising her enough. I thought she was phenomenal as this character. I hope she gets more advanced work in the future. And finally, the humour was actually fine. I think they managed to balance the serious tone and the comedic tone very well for the most part. And the jokes weren't anything great or anything, but they got a couple of good chuckers out of me, and they weren't stupid or really annoying, so the writers did a good job on the comedic part and managed to balance the tone really well. But on to the flaws. The story never flows naturally, and character arcs are really rushed. The Flash's arc is really rushed, learning to accept that the past is written, you can't change it. It's developed fairly well. It's probably the one good arc that was written decently, but even then in some parts it was rushed. And the younger Flash had an arc which was just forgotten about for a while. Supergirl had an arc, as I said, of learning to accept that not humans are bad and she must protect them. Yeah, that's pretty much resolved in like 5 minutes. Probably not even that. She looks at one thing and that's it. And it was really disappointing. And also, I don't know why this was added in the story, but Barry Allen and Iris West's romance, he just does not need to be there. It's introduced and then it doesn't get resolved at all, or it's talked about at all throughout the second act of this movie. And it's resolved out of nowhere. The two actors have no chemistry at all. So why they added that into the movie, I have no idea. There's also a reveal for a villain at the end of the movie, which I could see coming from miles away. I don't know why they made this a big thing at the end, because I'm pretty sure me and the rest of the audience knew what it was going to be the second it was introduced. It was poorly written, poorly thought out. It could have worked with a little bit of time and effort put into it, but it was done really poorly. But the worst thing about this movie, everyone's talking about it, the CGI. The CGI is not even video game quality. It's not even PS1 video game quality. The director can come out and complain and try and defend it all he can. But the bottom line is, this is some of the worst CGI I have ever seen. The director can come out and say, oh, time's not fully written at the moment. Okay, well, why on earth is a CGI Batman on a motorcycle really bad? Why is the CGI so bad? Honestly, it was that bad, it was so distracting. It was laughable. This honestly turned to a comedy film at some times because the CGI was so distracting and comedic. There's so many times in that final battle where the CGI was all over the place. It looked so bad. And you want me to take it seriously. How can you expect me to take that seriously? And finally, this is one thing that's really bugging me with most superhero movies now. Fan service. I've got no problem with cameos, fan service. If it's done right, it can work to great effect. But this movie, especially near the end, just keeps shoving in characters after characters after characters. Mostly all CGI for no reason. There is a bunch of characters from projects, I'm not going to say what, that were fully CGI. And oh my word, did they look terrible. They look awful. They didn't even look like PS1 game quality, as I said. It's such a disrespect to some of the deceased actors in that final bit. Like, it was so dumb. And as I said, I'm fine with cameos, but make it make sense in the terms of the story. The movie also has other small flaws as well, but one other positive I forgot to mention was the action. I thought the action was fine for the most part. There was an action scene in Russia, which I really liked. Michael Keaton's Batman, using all his gadgets and everything, was so cool. And the final battle is a big CGI mess, but it still had its moments. So overall, The Flash had potential. So much potential. But in the end, it feels like a corporate mess filled with needless fan service, awful CGI, some of the worst CGI ever made, plot conveniences, everything. But it's still a fun time to enjoy it and make it a solid little film. If you honestly think this is one of the best superhero movies ever made, that's fine, but I really want you to answer this question, why you think that. And answer that question to me fully, seriously. If you can come up with a good reason for it, I'll hold my hands up. But as I said, if you enjoy it, that's fine. But for me, I don't really see why people are thinking that. So overall, The Flash is a decent end to this abysmal universe, just abysmal cinematic universe. And if you want to see it, I guess it's fine, but don't go into it thinking it's going to be something groundbreaking. So I'm going to give The Flash a 6 out of 10, 5.5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. It's nothing amazing, it's nothing bad either. It was just perfectly solid. And guys, that is it for the end of this review. I hope you all enjoyed. Next time, you know what it is. It's The Idol episode 3. I'm watching it in a couple of hours. Whoopie-doo. I'm so excited. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of The Flash in the comments if you have seen it. Have a good day. See you later.